There are two books that I want to recommend to us. One is written by a dear friend of mine, and that is Pastor Dan Fisher, who is the founder of Bringing Back the Black Robe Regiment. It's called Unlimited Submission. He writes a treatise on Romans, the 13th chapter. He states in his book a quote from another pastor friend of mine, Pastor Matt Truhella. Matthew Truhella also wrote a book on interposition. And he says, when the state commands what God forbids, or when God commands what the state forbids, we have a duty and obligation to disobey. March of 2020, the state forbade assembly in the house of God. The state commanded that we no longer assemble with myself and 9 people, no more than that. And with a congregation of hundreds and even thousands of people that gather here several times a week, 52 weeks a year, 156 times annually, that is impossible. So we had an obligation to disobey what the state commanded, because God commanded us to assemble. Now, there are, according to Fréderic Bastiat's The Law, this is another tremendous book. If you keep up with people like Mike Savage and Mark Levin, these men all have quoted recently from this book, The Law. Well, I've had it years before that from my good friend who was a great lawmaker, Louis Woody Jenkins, who spent many years, almost 3 decades, in the Louisiana State House of Representatives. But they quote from this, but how do we know if a law is a good law? St. Augustine said that an unjust law is no law at all. There are 3 criteria necessary for it to be a law that you should obey. Number 1, is the law oriented to the common good? Is the law that you are making oriented to the common good? Number 2, is the law in the realm of the scope of the authority of the lawmaker? Question is, who are you to make this law? And finally, is the law equally proportionate in enforcement? Those 3 things. Is the law for the common good? Who made the law? And is the law equally proportionate? For example, if you go to your local grocery store today and the buggy attendant is really aggravated that people are just scattering buggies all over the parking lot instead of putting them in the proper buggy receptacle, well, he can't arbitrarily make a law to have your vehicle impounded. It's probably for the common good. He would think, I should have your car, I should have a jack put on your tire and then have your car towed because you're not putting your buggy back in the proper receptacle. But who is he to make that law? It may be for the common good because you don't want to go dodging buggies in the parking lot, and we don't want our groceries to go up because we're having to pay buggy attendants to go all over the city picking up these shopping carts. But you just can't arbitrarily do that. Who are you to make that law? The reason I'm telling you these things is because in March of 2020, we saw a usurpation of lawmaking from the executive branch. And you just can't do that, especially in the state of Louisiana. Of the 50 states, we have greater protection as churchgoers and as religious establishments because of one revised statute that was put in there by one of these individuals that I've just told you about, the man that gave me this book. Louis Woody Jenkins, back during the Constitutional Convention in 1974, he was the author of the Louisiana Constitutional Convention. And he put in there an RS 29:736D, which says that the executive branch shall in no way infringe upon the rights of its people whenever it gives executive orders. Shall in no way. Nobody else has that revised statute in their Constitution in the United States of America. Nobody else has that little revised statute or clause that says whenever an executor, like the governor of the state of Louisiana, he may have the ability to, during a hurricane, close down southbound traffic in Louisiana and put all 4 lanes northbound out of the state of Louisiana so we don't sit here for hours and get caught by a hurricane, run out of gas, and just clog up the interstate systems. So we have, in hurricanes, we've had executives say, okay, nobody can come into the state, you can only go out of the state. That's pretty good. He needs the ability to do that as the executive, as the leader of our state. It's for the common good. He has the ability to do that because you can't very well assemble the legislature to make this law, and it's equally proportionate. All of the state is having to obey. But nothing in the past 2.5 years has been equally proportionate, has been for the common good, and the laws that he has made, which are mandates, strong suggestions, are not in the scope of the realm of his authority. He just doesn't have the ability or the authority to do what he has done. Nor did the chief of police have the authority. He may have had the ability, but he didn't have the authority to come in and arrest us and cite us. And then the sheriff did not have the authority to imprison us. And then the judges did not have the authority to put ankle bracelet monitors and global positioning systems on my body and restrict my movement from leaving the front door of my house. Is it for the common good what they did? No. Was it equally proportionate and indiscriminate in its being equally applied to all of the citizens? No. We were singled out because of religion. And even more so because we're apostolic Pentecostals. And finally, they did not operate in the scope of the realm of their authority. And because of that, October 3rd, 2022 is a reality. Because of that, on Friday, May the 13th, 2022, the Louisiana Supreme Court said that we have no more noble honor and duty than to protect the right of our citizens. And one of those inalienable rights is their right to peaceably assemble as an establishment of religion and go to church, practicing their religion. So now we're on the offensive and we're going into the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals before several judges, and we're arguing that now this is a libel suit and you can't get by with what you've done. And the only cure for rebellion is pain. So we'll see you in court very soon. God, richest blessings on your life. We'll see y'all soon in the house of God.